This is the Rencolor DM10, a 2-in 1-out mixing hotend 3D printer. It's got a 300 by 300 by 360mm print area. But here's the kicker about this particular printer, and its cousin, the DM10 Mini. The hotend has a storing mechanism in the printer that also apparently doubles as a plug from the way this has been printing at least. Meaning that I can actually, it's intended to make a smoother gradient, but it seems to still get a dichromatic effect, which I wasn't expecting. But it still prints really well. You're going to see some prints in a bit. Well, this is the end result of the first print. Shows the gradient effect real well. The only thing is, I don't know why there was a layer shift. I suspect I bumped it or something, because I tend to jump around quite a bit in my bedroom, so I suspect I might have bumped the printer and caused that to happen. Because the fact that it happened so much up here instead of like down low, I suspect it's probably just me hitting it. I don't know what happened there. After that, it was a matter of just calibrating the printer. I initially had the sample spools of filament that came with it in the printer, which were a red and a pink spool, which isn't exactly very apparent for some of these smaller prints. But as you can tell from the first one, it wasn't that obvious that there was any sort of gradient effect, nor was it very easy to see a dichromatic effect. I then moved on to a filament from CC3D on the white extruder, and my first print came out with red feet, one of them bent, and the rest was mostly just a dichromatic effect of blue, purple, and red. I tried the calibration panda again. This time I got the full effect, and then I knew we were in business. I then decided to try to print a pineapple, which was a STO that was on the SD card that comes with the printer. And for that, I initially used the same spools as before, but it failed midway. So I ultimately swapped out the white one for some Gizmodorix marble, a filament that tends to snap by itself when it's not printing for some odd reason. And after that, I noticed a really interesting effect that I liked. It was almost like it was like alien red marble. But I really wanted to test this, so I tried to print some mounts for Make Anything's Color Blender. The only problem is the first one, the tolerances was so bad I couldn't even get them in. I couldn't get the pieces together, and the other ones I couldn't just actually get attached at all. So there was that issue. So what would be the verdict? Well, as you can tell, it can actually print surprisingly well, actually, for a mixing hotend, and one that doesn't even clog at that. I would say that the default settings in the slicer needs a bit of work. And I'll jump to that slicer in a bit, but what you will see is that this is what the construction came with. In the it came with when I assembled it. There's basically two Bondtech style extruders. It uses a thick ribbon cable for the x-axis with a CAN bus, apparently. Does two Z-rods. And the y-axis is like V-road belt driven, but the belt's in the middle instead of inside the extrusion. I forgot to mention this comes with filament 1/8 sensors on both extruders. My bad. Okay, so this is actually the slicer that comes in the card. This is called Rencolor slicer. Or Ren slicer, I guess. Yeah, you can see the title. What am I thinking? And it looks like it is pretty much a carbon copy of Ultimaker 4.9. So you have obviously two materials here, and They seem to have dumbed down the settings a bit, but I'm going to go to custom because I'm more familiar with that. 1.5. I need to figure out how to set this up for Cura, but this is what I'm going to use for right now. So they have defense speed at about 50. Z-hop is on, retraction is on. The print speed is a whopping 70 millimeters a second. Okay. I guess we'll see how that turns out. Build plate temperature is at 30, printing temperature is 190. Even though I'm pretty sure I started at 200 in the test file. So I'm going to bump that up. To have it for grid info, I'm going to go for gyroid. Free wall is 1.0 millimeter thickness. So I have it set to either blend, radius segment. Looks like you can also segment it, which has been interesting. Okay, I'm going to see if I have a model in here already that I can, oh, here we go. That's not what I wanted to do. Oh, that's a free map file. Here we go. Let's open that up in... right in this slicer. Only thing I'm seeing is there doesn't seem to be any way to disable one of the extruders. I'm going to turn this up to 70. See how that turns out. And then I'm going to slice that. So, the verdict? Well, it's definitely one of the better mixing hotend printers I've used, considering I've only ever used two. So, this is definitely something I could get behind. Well, I should say get behind, but they already released it as a printer you can buy. I'll leave the link in the description to the printer. You can get it from Alibaba officially for like $500. And I'll leave you off there.